So it turns out that there are a lot of Nerf Crossbolt haters, and I do not hold to that, so I'm going to do it anyway. Nerf Ultimate Crossbolt Mod Guide, go! Hey guys, you'll have to pardon that my workshop is a little bit messy right now. I've just got a ton of contract work going on. But first step for the Crossbolt mod guide is removing these 3 screws and butterflying off part of the priming rail. Don't bother trying to take this other part off as it is locked into the sliding rail, so that is important. Then you come in and remove this screw here. I've gone ahead and done that already, and then tease some kind of flathead. This is ultimately too large, but move your bungee out of the way. Flathead comes in, open this up, then you'll see in there that the bungee is just kind of locked into this little pincher, I guess. Shoot, we need a slightly smaller screwdriver here, but coming in, we can grip this and then just kind of pull it out, tease it through, whee, and your bungee is free, which means that this is no longer a system under tension, and we can come in and butterfly the rest of the shell. Alright, so the number one thing that you should take away from this mod guide is that every step of it is easier if the bow arms are not attached. Now, it's very difficult to remove them from the blaster while doing the mod guide, so once you have it open, it should be a little bit easier to get them through, but just don't put them on in the first place if you plan on modifying your blaster. That said, we got it done, so butterflying it open like this, you can see these are your internals. Down here we have a very unique magazine release, and if you push here you can see that there's like 3 pieces, so it's this, then this with the skinny portion going down, and then the release itself, so that's all its own unit. Then this is where of course our bolt for our priming bar goes into place, and then this should just be its own entire unit, and that is exactly what this is. So immediately I can tell you that I want to say that like half of these pieces are locks. Most of this entire unit is non-necessary. So I'm going to start removing them. This is a lock, and then it has an accompanying spring. Gone. It looks like this is also a lock, so we're going to pry that out, and its accompanying spring. What else? So this is definitely a lock. It was part of the original door portion, so let's see how that comes out. Oh no, my pencil broke. So you can see that this is very technical, obviously, but I'm just removing the pieces that are not necessary to the functioning of the blaster so that everything will be much smoother. And that is definitely a necessary piece, or at least I think that it's a necessary piece. This, on the other hand, might not be. The most important mechanism here to preserve is the catch, so the ones that I've just removed now, I can tell you are definitely not necessary. This also looks like a lock to me, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time off camera, reduce this down to its completely unlocked form, and then I'll show you what it looks like finished, and we'll be able to put together what was necessary and what was not. So I discovered something interesting while taking this apart, in that the gray pieces are completely isolated from the blue pieces, which means getting a really cool paint job on this blaster should be a snap, so I'm just going to do that because why not? And I think that I know what color I'm going to do it, but also I wanted to mention that I found this online. I'll put a link to its Amazon in the description box below, but this is a slightly tougher version of paracord bungee than the stock stuff. It's a little bit thinner, but not by much, only by like maybe a millimeter, but it's tough enough that I'm willing to try it, and I hope I get good results out of it. Plus it comes in a variety of colors, and I thought that that was really cool, so I grabbed one that was red and black because Drac colors, and I'm going to actually remove one of the big Crossbolt haters' peeves from this in this mod guide. Now, if you do nothing else, you could just replace the bungee and you'd get some gains. You could tighten the stock bungee, you could replace it with this bungee, or you could do what I'm going to do. I'm going to carve off these arms and then reattach the bungee at a lower point in the blaster so that it's tighter and it becomes a much more compact blaster. So it's going to be less crossbow and more just like a bulb bullpup stringer by the time I'm said and done. So I'm going to carve these off, and I'll show you where I make those cuts, and I'm going to paint it all at the same time, and it should be really neat by the time it's all said and done. Okay, so to the best of my ability, this is about what it should look like as the locks have been removed. It looks like there's one more lock inside that's actuated by this spring and controlled by the trigger. I don't believe that it's going to impair function at all. It seems to just be a dart stop so that you can't put things back in through the barrel, which doesn't seem like something that I'd want to do, and I'm not really worried about it. I could be wrong there. Nobody is perfect, or as I like to say on this channel, pobody's nerfect, but that means that all of these locks I don't think are necessary. They do things like preventing you from pulling the trigger when there isn't a primed blaster, like preventing you from pushing the string back manually, and like all sorts of different little like jam door locks. So I'm just going to trash all of those, and I'm going to install this as is. For the purpose of this mod guide, I think that this will be very, very sufficient. It is worth noting that you can pop this screw and this screw to open it up and remove this lock, but for those who don't want to deal with getting all of these screws, or not screws, but springs back into place, I think that this will be very sufficient. This seems necessary, as does this, as the mechanism kind of, works in a fashion such as this. So if this is the string, it comes through, clicks, and then of course there's tension pushing it back this way, and it kind of digs in there, and then you pull the trigger and it flips up and lets it through. Now it's not working with this because there's no elasticity to that AR, but I'm going to install this back in after putting the sled back on. I've gone ahead and finished the body work on my Crossbolt, so it should be more or less ready to go. I'm going to show you kind of how I restring it, and that should wrap it up. Alright guys, so this is my finished Crossbolt. You can see that without the arms on it, it's much smaller and easier to maneuver, which is sweet. Still have perfect functionality on both of these jam doors. I have never had to open this jam door. Occasionally, you'll get a weird dart that'll hang, or the string will slip in a weird way, such that you might want access to this jam door, so it's important. With no locks, you can prime and fire as often as you want with no darts in it, which is a lot of fun. I like having the ability to just be super duper goofy with my blasters. This is actually still just a little bit loose because I'm playing with the length. Right now, I've got about 7.5 to 8 inches of effective, I guess, length inside my knots. So like, you could tinker with it. If you went tighter, you could put some pre-compression on this and get a little bit more power, but if you went looser, you'd have some kind of flop, I guess, so to speak, before priming, and it might not fire nearly as well. So about 7.5 is where I want to be with this particular version of paracord elastic, but it seems very, very nice. I'm getting the performance that I wanted out of this new paracord. So this is a 6-clip, which I like because it helps you kind of maintain that bullpup identity to the blaster, and then firing through is getting slightly improved performances. It's not a huge upgrade, but I think that it's an upgrade over the stock spring in terms of power, and then it's an upgrade in terms of like the overall comfort and tactical utility of the blaster, because it no longer has the bow arms and is much more compact now. I painted it red because I felt like using my Fanger red rattle cans because I haven't in a while, and then afterwards I came in and signed it Drac. So this is the tactical Crossbolt mod guide. I hope you guys enjoy it. I enjoyed making it, and I really like playing with it. I've decided for those who don't want to fool with all of these locks and all of the mechanisms and might want an original, I will be putting this one up on eBay, but before I actually mail it out, I will likely melt these at the tips here because they're trying to fray, and I'll like cut them to size and then melt them off. But this will be on eBay, link in the description box below. And then the lovely Draculina just finished her Nocturnals comic for today because it is Monday, and I think that it has an HVZ theme, so that is very, very exciting, and you should definitely check it out. So those will both be links in the description box, but there it is, the much requested ultimate mod guide for the Nerf Crossbolt. I like to call it the tactical Crossbolt, and as always guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy your week.